feeling you get sometimes that the economy just isn't playing by the same rules anymore? Like, how did a few tech companies get more powerful than entire countries? Well, today we're going to dig into that. We're looking at two really wild, really new ideas that try to explain the world we're living in right now.
So yeah, let's start right there. How is it that a handful of tech companies feel more powerful than nations? How did our digital world get so concentrated, so unbelievably fast? It's a question a lot of us are asking.
And you know what? The answer is complicated. In fact, there are two huge competing theories trying to make sense of the strange new rules of our economy. One theory looks way back into the past, saying we're basically returning to a new kind of feudalism.
Yeah, feudalism.
The other one? It says we're seeing capitalism, but on hyperdrive.
Okay, but before we dive into those two big ideas, we have to get our heads around one fundamental change. This is the thing that underpins everything. We've gone from an economy of atoms to an economy of bits.
For, centuries, economic power came from physical stuff you could actually touch, right? Factories, machines, land. But in just the last few decades, the whole global economy has pivoted. Now, the most valuable assets on the planet are totally invisible. We're talking about algorithms, massive troves of data, and the power of digital networks.
Yeah, the official term for these things is intangible assets. Think about the code that runs your favorite app, or the secret design of your phone, or even just the incredible power of a brand name. But here's the crucial point. The thing that changes the whole game, these assets don't follow the old rules of economics. You can't just build another Google next door to compete.
And that brings us to their superpower, scalability. This is huge. It's the ability for something to be copied and sent out to millions, even billions of people at almost zero additional cost. Think about it. A car factory builds one car at a time, and every single car costs real money to make. But an app, a piece of software, it can be copied an infinite number of times, pretty much for free. This one single idea, it changes everything.
So, okay, how do we even begin to make sense of a world built on these crazy, scalable, intangible assets? Well, one really provocative theory says we shouldn't be looking to the future for answers. We should be looking to the distant past. Get ready for this one, techno-feudalism. Economist Yanis Varoufakis, he puts it really bluntly. He argues that today's markets and profits don't really run on capitalist principles anymore. He says they now depend on these huge digital platforms that act like digital fiefdoms. In his mind, capitalism isn't just changing, it's dying. And something much, much older is taking its place. And this is where it gets really interesting, how this theory reframes our relationship with technology. At the very top, you've got the digital lords, the owners of big tech. Their platforms, social media, cloud services, those are the digital fiefdoms. And us? Well, we're the cloud serfs. We're the ones working on their digital land, generating data, creating content, training their AIs, and we're doing it all without getting a paycheck.
So check this out. This is the core of the idea. In this system, big tech isn't really getting rich by selling you products. They're extracting something Varoufakis calls cloud rent. It's less like buying something and more like a tax you pay with your attention and your data, just for the privilege of existing in their digital world.
Okay, but hold on. That's only one way of looking at all this. There's another, completely different theory. And this one argues we're not seeing a break from capitalism at all. What we're seeing is its ultimate and maybe even terrifying acceleration.
This theory is called super-industrial capitalism. It says, nope, the game is still capitalism, but the way you win big is by owning and innovating with those super-scalable, intangible assets. This is where we get super profits. We're not just talking about making a nice return on your investment, we're talking about a gushing fire hose of money that comes from owning a digital system that everyone uses, where every new user costs you basically nothing. The goal is still profit, but the speed and the scale are on a whole other level.
And this chart just shows it so perfectly. Take a look at global business investment. For decades, all the big money poured into tangible stuff, factories, machinery, you name it. But look at it now. Investment in those invisible, intangible assets has absolutely soared past it. Plain and simple, the money is following the new source of power and profit.
And this leads to a dynamic that pretty much defines our entire era. Winner takes all. Because these intangible assets are so ridiculously scalable, the first company to really nail it in a certain space can create a near monopoly, like overnight. There's just very little room for anyone else. And this power is real. Just think about how one little tweak to a platform's algorithm can literally make or break thousands of small businesses that depend on it. That, right there, is the winner taking all.
So here we are. We've got two really powerful explanations for the exact same world. Are we serfs in some new digital feudal system, or are we just consumers in a supercharged capitalist race to the top? What happens when we put these two ideas side by side?
All right, let's break it down.
On one side, techno-feudalism sees us as unpaid workers for these digital lords, paying that cloud rent with our data. In that world, we are the resource. On the other side, super-industrial capitalism sees us as consumers in a crazy fast race for super profits. In that world, our money and our attention are the prize. But here's the absolute kicker, the thing you have to see. It almost doesn't matter which theory is right. Look at the outcome. Whether it's a totally new economic system or just a faster version of the old one, the result is exactly the same. A massive, massive concentration of economic power in the hands of a very tiny few.
So what does this actually mean for you? Well, the bottom line is, no matter which theory you find more convincing, the ground has completely shifted under our feet. Your personal data? It's now a core economic resource, as valuable as oil was a century ago. A tiny number of dominant platforms now control the digital spaces where we live our lives. The rules for success have been totally rewritten around these new, invisible assets.
And this is really the key takeaway from all of this. Both theories, in the end, agree on one central, unavoidable truth. Value and power don't really come from making physical things anymore. They come from owning the invisible systems, the platforms, the networks, the code that all of us use to live, to work, and to connect with each other.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. In this new economic order, where we're dominated by a few powerful platforms that honestly know more about us than we know about ourselves, what are we? Are we still consumers, just choosing products in a marketplace? Are we citizens who have rights that need protecting? Or have we become something else entirely?